Hello. Hello, my name is Philip Plotch, and I'm the principal researcher here at the Eno Center for Transportation. Welcome to the latest in our series of webinars. We're an independent, nonpartisan, and nonprofit think tank that shapes public debate on multimodal transportation issues. Our webinar today is about harnessing the power of artificial intelligence at transportation agencies. I can't think of a more fascinating topic relating to transportation, whether AI makes you think about ChatGPT or smart cameras or autonomous taxis. We have two very special guests from TxDOT today to talk about AI and transportation. Darren Anderson is the department's Director of Strategy and Innovation, and An Selazin is the Chief Information Officer. We're focusing on TxDOT today because we're at the forefront of planning and incorporating AI into every facet of their organization. AI is revolutionizing how the department monitors and manages traffic, detects incidents, and makes decisions. They've also put together a very impressive document. It's an AI strategic plan to guide the department over the next 3 years. Now, Darren and An are going to give a short presentation, and then we'll take questions from all of you. Whenever you want, you can just enter questions in the Q&A box. It's on the right side of your screen, and we'll get to as many of those questions as possible. We hope you enjoy our webinar, and we hope you can help support us by donating or becoming a member. Just check out the link in the chat box. And with that, here's Darren.
Thanks, Philip. I'm going to share these slides real quick. Oh, I didn't put it in slideshow for you. Let me do that real quick. There you go. Okay. Thanks for having us on today. It's a pleasure to be able to talk about what we've worked over the last year and a half, and to recognize, it's a department-wide effort, and also, a lot of input from organizations across the nation that we've been participants in, and as we begin to think about the use of artificial intelligence, its implications for transportation, and how we might implement it within TxDOT, and what might be the best uses of it, at least initially. So we're going to provide a quick overview of the strategic plan. It's generally a 3-year plan, provides direction, but it also was intended to recognize the pace of change in the technologies is so great that we didn't really want to go much beyond what we thought we would do in the first 3 years, and kind of lay the framework really of what it meant to implement AI in the department. As I said, it represents the combined efforts of people from across the department, both our districts and our divisions. We'll probably get into that in some of the questions, but know that we canvass the entirety of the department to identify where they thought might be good use cases and begin to develop the overall strategy. And I particularly want to note the collaborative efforts of An's division, the Information Technology Division, and one of my divisions, the Strategic Initiatives and Innovation Division, who were the key elements that put together the overall strategic plan. Now, just to give you an overall capture of what the plan looks like, so there's an overview of the uses of AI, the types, and their definitions. Then we felt it was very important right up front to put our guiding principles, and An will speak to those in a moment. What is the department's readiness for implementation of AI? What is our current technology, architecture, capabilities, data capabilities, and so forth? And what are the things that we need to do next to continue to grow and be able to add AI uses in the department? So those are the recommendations for foundational additional capabilities, a generic 3-year roadmap, and then a number of use cases. I believe the number is over 230 use cases. And again, I'll speak to those in a moment. With that, I'm going to turn it over to An to talk about those guiding principles.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I do want to reiterate the partnership, because I think what has made this AI plan and strategy so powerful is the collaboration, not just with Darren and myself and our teams, but also the overall collaboration with the district and divisions, who are ultimately the users of the strategy. From an overall AI guiding principles, I think it's very important to make sure that no matter if it's AI or any tools, one of the things that we've done is we really have leveraged the overall security and privacy platform and overall technology governance. We didn't always have this at TxDOT, but in the last 3 years, I think we have really solidified a very strong technology governance process where no matter what technology that you bring to the table, in this instance, AI, it is layered with overall organizational safeguards that really make sure that you're not exposing your organization, needlessly. And so let's look at this slide right now. So like I said, this is based on our overall TxDOT technology governance. I think what's also very important behind that is that we have utmost executive support to make sure that everybody's following this mandate. And I think that's really the most core to everything that we talk about in the AI strategic plan, as Darren was articulating, is I think that it's good to really focus on innovation. And AI is definitely something that's a game changer when it comes to moving forward with, new technology that can fundamentally revolutionize what we're doing and create that transformation in the transportation industry. But with that, I think having executive support and leadership support around an overall governance process. And so this picture shows that using any tool now, and I think from a transparency and accuracy perspective, it's really important for AI that we really make sure that people are looking at what is the AI tool producing, right? I mean, I keep up with a lot of, articles that talk about the inaccurate byproducts that is created by AI. And I think this is where we're seeing that garbage in is garbage out, which is making sure that your data is accurate when you basically put it through any AI tool. And that is one thing I would reinforce and underline multiple times in any type of forum is make sure that before you even pick a tool that your data is accurate, because that's going to be the culmination of what's created at the end with AI. Be transparent on what tools you're using and what is the business benefit it provides. And I think that's the other thing as a technologist that I would highly recommend is technology for technology's sake is no longer an added value to an organization. Make sure that you're being very transparent. So why are you using it? Who is going to be really manipulating the information and reviewing the information from an accuracy perspective? And then what type of metrics are you putting in place to define the success and the performance of what you're trying to do? And I think that's really critical. From an accountability and trustworthiness perspective, I think it's really important, like I reiterate, is that you have to mandate that whoever is using an AI tool, that they understand that they are ultimately the accountable person to whatever is produced. And so they need to take on that trustworthiness of the organization to make sure that they really are doing what's right for the organization, producing the right results, especially if you're going to show those results to the public. And then overlying all of it from an umbrella perspective is the privacy and security. We are seeing such a large number of vulnerabilities now hitting every organization. We have millions of attacks every day, not every month, every day into our systems, and we block those, thank God. But I think that as you're implementing AI tools, it is very much necessary that you follow some strong privacy rules. So understand what data are you putting through it. If it is sensitive or confidential, I think you need to take that next level of security to make sure that who's looking at it. Is it encrypted in any way, shape, or form? And is it being exposed to people that you don't want it exposed to that could put your organization at risk? And from a security perspective, I think it's really important. Again, whether it's AI or any tool, what you need to make sure that the system is secure. So secure from anybody who should not be accessing it, to make sure that you safeguard the organization as a whole. Because if a hacker gets into this system and then basically permeates your network, it is going to be a world of hurt for your organization. So make sure that you really push the accountability and the governance to ensure that that does not happen. Darren, let's move to the next one, please. And so key areas from TxDOT is I think we're very blessed. TxDOT has been on a transformation journey for the last 6 years. And I will say that we, from a maturity perspective, we get a third-party assessment done every other year. And so that assessment vendor really looks at the overall maturity of our security and our privacy, governance and processes. And we're right now at a very good maturity rating. And so with that, it has created an environment that we're very ready for the transformation that comes with AI. And so we've spent the last several years really optimizing the infrastructure in order to handle, because I think one of the things that we don't talk about is we talk about all the cool and sexy with AI, but we really don't talk about, do we have the capacity to handle the amount of data and the amount of basically bandwidth that the AI tool consumes? And then, one of the things that we have done from a TxDOT perspective is the last several years, we really have focused on making sure that we bring everybody up from a broadband perspective to a level that we can actually operate, robust tools like AI in an efficient manner. So it doesn't take multiple hours and days to actually run something, but actually in minutes, because we've gotten everybody up to a good broadband capacity. From a data-driven decision-making perspective, one of the things that we've spent the last several years to do is build an enterprise data platform. And what that is we've built a really robust data warehouse. And for us, we moved from a data lake over to Snowflake. And so we have all of our data in this EDP sitting in the cloud. So it gives us a great amount of capacity to handle multitudes of different data sets. And what we've been able to do is look at not only reconciling, critical data sets together so it's comprehensive, but we're also using these data sets to do reconciliation for accuracy and really working with the key, system owners to really look at, is the data accurate? What changes do I need to make with the data to make sure that the accuracy is top notch, so that when we do produce something from it, that it is accurate? And so we're doing a lot of AI ML use cases around that. Darren will talk about one, I believe, around fraud detection. And so very proud of the amount of advancements that we've done here. And we continue to bring in more and more different data sets. And I think our next step will be bringing in a large amount of traffic data, so we can actually do some stronger AI analytics around traffic and congestion information. From a stakeholder experience, we are looking at AI. We recently did a pilot around M365 Copilot. We wanted to make sure that we rolled it out in an efficient manner. And to be very honest, we've kind of, led the industry in this, because we not only bought the licenses, but we made sure that we provided the accurate training so that people can actually use Copilot correctly. And we really looked at, what are we trying to do with the tool? What have people done with the tool to actually help make their lives easier from an operational day-to-day perspective? And then how do we sustain the tool with the group that we have? And so we're looking at, usage patterns and things like that, just because the Copilot is expensive. And so we're wanting to make sure that we offer the right AI tools for the stakeholder experience that we want to have. And I think that's critical in any AI tool, because if you have AI tools implemented, but they're not useful and they really don't work for the mission critical need of the organization, then it is really technology for technology's sake and not technology for the business sake. And then unlocking the workforce potential. Our executive leadership has never said we are using AI to replace personnel. That has never been the edict, and that has never been the intent. As a part of the partnership that we have created, as part of the collaboration we created, we also, I think, created a very safe environment and culture around TxDOT, where let us use these innovative tools to complement your work, so that it would actually ease up the manual processing that you do, so that you can refocus, the days that you have, or the time that you have now alleviated by AI, to focus on more mission critical functions that you would not normally have time to do. So I think this has been a very positive and a very, safe environment that our leadership has created to help with the innovation. And then I'm just going to end with, like I said, AI doesn't scare me. That probably scares a lot of people, because I think that, we have spent so many years creating that security and privacy governance around technology, so that we have a handle on what technology are people trying to implement. Does it fulfill certain security and data privacy safeguards and standards and policies? And then we have really built a really strong collaboration with the business, so that they come to us, not as a hindrance, right, or try to go around us, but really to try to come to us to help them implement these technologies in a safe way, so that the agency is also safeguarded. So with that, Darren, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, and just to add a little on the business side or operation side for these focus areas. Optimizing infrastructure, that encompasses design and engineering, construction, traffic management, maintenance of the facilities. And all of those, we see AI applications that will help us overall enhance the infrastructure performance. And so, ultimately serve the public as well as, make TxDOT's work easier, more exact, and maybe even better informed, depending upon how we bring in AI and big data to solution making. And that extends into then data-driven decision making as you think about planning. Again, roadway operations and maintenance, a lot of analytics are going into all those areas and to improve both safety and traffic management activities in the department. And when we talk about stakeholder experience, TxDOT, we don't have our Department of Motor Vehicles and our Department of Public Services under TxDOT. They're external agencies. So we don't have as much public-facing interaction other than planning meetings and the like. But we do have a lot of stakeholders, contractors that work with us, other transportation agencies. And so there are even AI applications that we're implementing there, and I'll talk about those in just a moment, to improve their experience with working at TxDOT as well. So it's an all-encompassing look at how we improve stakeholder experience. Hit the nail on the head on workforce potential. It's about keeping humans in the loop. It's about augmenting their capabilities, enabling them to do other tasks that they may not have been able to get to in the past. So elevating some of their work activities and using AI to address some of the more routine activities, typically through machine learning types of activities, and then maybe expanding into generative AI. And then On's team has done great work on the cybersecurity and privacy side. And as she stressed, it's data governance, it's privacy, and it's certainly cybersecurity and its governance. And I would say on the data governance side, you're not going to be able to tackle that whole thing at once. It's, there's data of all types across an agency. But you certainly, as you want to implement an AI solution toward a certain problem, that you want to make sure that the data that's in that space that's going to be used for that solution has to have good governance, and the data needs to be clean and go through the entire process to make it so. So wrapping up then with use cases, in the document itself, pages 16 and 17, I believe, are an overview of all the use cases that we collected. They're kind of categorized by types of areas, but there's over 230 identified use cases in the plan, and there's little summaries of each one of those. And I'm sure that there are many others that could have been identified. This was done through department-wide effort with my team in ITD engaging with our divisions in Austin, and then certainly with all the districts across the state, and talking to them about, going back to the very first slide, what is AI? What are the types of AI? What does that mean? How do you define that? How might they be used in different ways? And then through having those discussions, saying, what problems do you have that you think AI might enhance what you're already doing to address those problem areas? And that's how they came to those 230 uses. They generally prioritize them. I think one of the big next steps that we'll do is we'll do a overall departmental review of where we are in implementation. As you see at the top of the slide, there's 22 actions in progress, and I've listed about 10 of those. And kind of making sure that all the things we laid out in the strategy about trustworthiness and the guiding principles and how we're going to run QA, QC, and how we're going to manage risk, that all of that's being done in the way that we expected it in the strategy. And then talk about where do we want to go next? How are these different use cases that are already in implementation leading us to a greater objective, be that tied to our strategic plan or to other actions in the department? Just to hit on a couple of these, you see a number on the left that are related to traffic management and traffic analyses, and either on the planning side or on the actual operations side, leading to either greater understanding of a challenge that we're experiencing in a given area, and beginning to identify how we might be able to address that either through design or through other control measures. And then on the day-to-day operations side, actual speeding of incident detection across all of our camera systems and alerting traffic management operators to an incident that they may not have detected initially. And it's generally helping us speed our routing of emergency services or roadside assistance services, and greatly cutting down on the incident response time in a given traffic management center. You see some other random ones, sign inventory and compliance using AI and typically some type of sensor system to identify degradation of signs and whether or not we need to speed up the maintenance. So any kind of asset management application are great for AI applications. Speed study analyses. I mentioned taking care of customers or stakeholders. Invoice verification coming in from our contractors. We've got a great effort going on there, and it's probably, in terms of overall contracts management, if this pilot continues in the vein that we are seeing it happen in one particular contracting area, we could expand those type of verifications across all of our contracting in the department and greatly speed both the time to verify them, the time to compare it to the contract's entirety, and then getting payments out to the contracting community. Same thing on the side of awarding contracts, refining our engineers' estimate by bringing in other big data sources and improving the estimates and looking back at contracts over time and bringing all those analytics through AI into further refinement of those estimates. This one I love, predicting fleet battery failure. I think we're getting to the point now where we're about 95% accurate on battery failure in the fleet within 2 months of when the AI prediction is identifying it through usage data and other types of analytics that it's pulling in. OnSpoke to 365 Copilot, we're using it across email, across PowerPoint and Word documents. I've used it a few times to kind of pull together thoughts, even on documents that I had or certain websites that I've been reading, and say, just pull together thoughts about this topic and help me begin to bring together talking points. For instance, maybe for an webinar. And a manuals chat bot that is helping people search through manuals in a much more efficient manner than they currently can do if they do it on their own. And then ON's really done a great job on employee onboarding and offboarding, both on the IT side and on the HR side, to greatly speed those processes in a way that we had not been able to do before. And you mentioned one other that I forgot to put on here that you might want to talk to.
Are you talking about the well, you're talking about the fuel card compliance, or which one, my friend?
What did you say? I can't remember. Maybe we should just go on and let Philip take over.
Here, but to Darren's point, I think we are doing that. We are also going to be looking at through our PeopleSoft environment, chatbots through that once we move to the cloud, where people can actually use chatbots to actually get information regarding their benefits and things like that. And so we're looking to do that in the next year and a half. And so I think it's a really exciting time right now at TxDOT, because I think the things that we're doing is transformative. We are looking at not only on the business side, like in some of those use cases where we're really helping with operational improvements. I mean, one of the areas that Darren mentioned is the construction invoicing. I mean, we are highly outsourced in our construction and maintenance area. And so we have a lot of payments that we have to do for the Association of General Contractors. And, we have process centers to actually help facilitate the payment, reconciliation and payment of these invoices. And it's taking them right now just to manually look at, what we're being charged. It takes sometimes days, if not weeks, to actually do that reconciliation before that payment can be made. We're actually doing a pilot on where AI can actually do that reconciliation so that the payment gets done. And we're actually seeing, and we're looking at metrics, which is what I said before, is you have to look at the metrics to see, are you saving time with these tools? And is it actually bringing accurate benefits? And so we're seeing that these things that are taking weeks to do are actually being expedited to like hours, right? Minutes to hours, which is a fundamental shift in the way we operate. And so, like Darren, I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I think it's being done in the correct way at TxDOT. It's very collaborative. There's huge partnership. There's huge executive support for the innovation. And so I just think it's a great time to be in the transportation industry.
Phil, just two quick thoughts on what she said.
Okay.
The potential to not only capture the metrics on is it saving time, but what are they able to do with the time that they've saved now? You know, that was the part of the big justification was we're going to free them up to do other things. Well, what are they doing with that time now? Because I think that that's a huge story we need to be able to tell. And then secondly, as we're going through those implementations, the importance of validating the data, you know, validating what's the output. So use your expertise. If you had done this by hand, and so we do have parallel efforts with the implementations to check that work, to make sure that it's providing us the answers that we expect to get.
Yep. Agreed.
So I want to thank the two of you. I'm going to quote a comment that we just got. It said, "Well done!" Exclamation point. Awesome! Exclamation point. So I'm gonna, I'll confirm. I totally agree with that. So a couple of people asked where they can get a copy of the strategic plan, and it's an easy answer. If you just Google TxDOT Artificial Intelligence Strategic Plan, there's the 3-year plan is out there. It's available to the public. So I'm gonna start with a term that one of you used, which was sexy, exciting, that people when they talk about AI. So is there one project that the two of you get excited about, or one that you think is really going to transform transportation?
All right, we should talk about, so there's one, it's the AI for traffic detection, which Darren talked about earlier. You know, we
I'm having a little trouble hearing you. I'm not sure what happened.
Are you there? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's one that Darren talked about earlier, and it's the AI traffic detection. I think that's an exciting one because what that does, and I won't mention vendors, but you know, we're in the process, and I think we are already awarded 2 AI detection tools that can be used enterprise-wide. And what it does is it allows us to take information, different data sets from third-party responders, data sets that we have, and it merges it all together to give us advanced warning when we possibly may have disruption on the roads. And where we've seen a tremendous value in that is that, you know, I didn't realize this, you know, because I haven't been in the DOT industry most of my life, but, you know, secondary crashes probably cause more, you know, crashes than even actual, you know, crashes on the roads where people are hitting each other. And so you have people who may be changing their tires on the road, that because people are driving, they don't see them. It can cause, you know, an automobile crash. And so what this does is it gives you information about disruption on the road so that, you know, TxDOT can work with third-party responders and get people out there to help these people remove that disruption on the road quicker, thereby reducing the amount of secondary crashes, as well as reducing the amount of time to respond to someone on the roads quicker. And so we've actually seen data where it shows that it's a 19-second, is it 19 seconds or 19 minutes? I think it's 19-second quicker response time out there. And we're seeing actually that it's working from a metrics perspective. So I think seeing more and more of those type of AI tools on the road just make me excited. Because I'm even seeing, I drove to Dallas last weekend and having my car tell me, hey, there's a disruption up ahead, be careful. I think that's tremendous. And I think that fundamentally changes the way we operate even on the roads.
And Darren, is there anything that
I mean, you kind of stole my thunder, but so extend that. I mean, and just the ability to notify the public. I mean, it's identifying, it's responding, and then extending that into a data environment that we've been working on quite some time, where ubiquitously we can provide advanced warning across all mapping applications and other types of information providers that people may be consuming in their vehicles. So it's turning into an ecosystem facilitated by the use of AI applications and again a bunch of big data sources that we hadn't necessarily been tapping before.
Yeah, and and as a driver on the roads, guys, I mean, just look at the type of data that's coming in your cars. It's fundamentally just transformative compared to 10, 15 years ago. And to be able to put AI on top of that to help people like us at TxDOT be able to make the road safer, I mean, that's huge, huge.
So somebody asked, how did you determine what AI projects and initiatives to prioritize?
I think, our executive, you saw the focus areas. So that kind of was a driving force behind that. Our executive director, wanted to focus on, as we said, optimizing the infrastructure, data-driven decision making in those areas. And he has his focuses area. Certainly safety is priority number one. So as you began to look at those, you can kind of see about half of the ideas were more on the business administration side, like I said, contracts management, onboarding, offboarding, things like that. And then the other half were much more operational. So then you kind of start going through that on the ops side, which ones are, you have to think about not just what would you like to do, but what are you able to do? What, do we have the architecture, the infrastructure in place? Do we have the data? Is it clean? Do we have the tools? Do we have the people? All, so you have all the underlying capability to enable the idea. And then if you do, then which ones are shovel ready, if you will, that we could begin to implement now. So some of it initially has been more about what's shovel ready versus what might be the top priority we'd like to get to. Because some of that's going to take, especially things like generative AI applications, going to take a lot more work when you get into that arena than you might with just machine learning type of AI applications. So that's kind of been our driving, and it goes to what I was saying about doing a review now. I think we've reached the maturity level now with these early implementations of, okay, now we know kind of how it works. What are we going to do next? And let's start really putting marks on the wall about where we really want to see, big swings for the fence.
Yeah, and we also have a CIO advisory board that actually takes IT projects from the business to IT. And so some of the things that we've done, like the invoice processing, we tested it out in IT first because we process IT invoices, and we've seen such a dramatic drop in how fast we can get payments out the door. So we basically, showcased that, and then we had the business come and say, is there a way you can apply that to the construction side? And so it's really, using that forum to have the business come to us, and then us listening, and then also working with them to derive what are we trying to do, and then what's the metrics that we can actually look at to see if this is going to be a positive. And so, and then we prioritize through that forum. We also prioritize the projects.
So you mentioned trustworthiness, and that's a few questions people asked about hallucinations. Anybody who's used some of these AI chat boxes knows that you can't completely trust the material. So the question was, what is TxDOT doing specifically to sustain and manage AI trustworthiness?
It's a good question.
I'll start. I mean, it's kind of called out in the document. There's a risk management activity. Our compliance and audit divisions are tied into that as well. The business element that is implementing an AI solution, as we mentioned earlier, they have a responsibility to have a secondary check effort to validate the output that's coming. Now, I know that that's not a one-time and done kind of thing. That, in fact, that model drift and hallucinations tend to expand over time. I think one thing that's keeping it, or I expect to keep us cleaner, is that this is mostly all about internal department information. We're not talking about going out on the broader internet and pulling data in to make a decision if it's related to TxDOT specific operations. Much of what we're doing is a TxDOT environment, and I can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I understand it. And so as long as we maintain that data governance, I don't think you're going to see bad data introducing the potential to have greater drift. But that being said, I expect our compliance and audit offices to want to and expect to regularly QA, QC our activities and actually come in and do a deep audit on a given application and say, okay, we're going to run this. We're going to ask it some questions. We're going to see what it outputs and what did the experts tell us is the right answer. And I think that's going to become a logical and repetitive part of the overall process. And we're really just reaching the point where that's beginning to come into play.
Yeah, and I would say on top of that, it starts at the top. So our executive leadership has really set the premise to say that, you need to be checking the data if you're using any AI tool. And then I think the other thing is, to Darren's point, is, the work that we've done that really has gained momentum on AI, it's the analytics to help us with, faster response on the roads, right? We're not going out, we're publicizing anything to the public. But then the other thing is all of the key operational wins that we've seen with the AI tool, it's all internal. It is how fast can we do something, right? Taking manual processing and basically trying to expedite that through the AI tool. And so it is really low risk because you're also keeping it within the network as well, and just from a security perspective. And so I think it is, let's walk before we run. And that is my biggest recommendation to anyone is these are AI tools. It's just the next iteration of tools, guys. But I think it's just like anything, you've got to learn it. You got to figure out its capacity for use. And you got to understand the boundaries of what that use should be. And so take a look at it, figure out the lowest hanging fruit with the lowest risk from a security and privacy perspective. So your first, your first run out of the gate should not be using sensitive or confidential information. And then basically implement slow. And then when you make slow steps, and the other thing I've seen as a win is start with something small. You don't have to conquer the world with any of these tools. And so by actually implementing small steps and baby steps I'm a big believer in pilots and proof of concepts because you learn as you go through them. And so as you learn, you not only learn about the tool and the benefits of the tool, but you also learn about the risk. And so you don't overexpose your organization needlessly. And so that would be my biggest recommendation as you move forward is start small, understand what you're working with. And then as you understand and do lessons learned, then you can actually start permeating the technology inside of your organization, but in a much more knowledgeable and safe manner.
So I'm a planner, that's my background. So I'm sort of fascinated by the plan you put together. And it's not an easy thing to do, to have a sort of a comprehensive plan for technology that's moving so rapidly. So any suggestions for, first, do you think it's a valuable resource for other agencies to go ahead and say, we want to put together an AI strategic plan? And if you think it's valuable, any suggestions on how they should go about and do it?
I'll let Darren start on that one.
Well, I hope it's good enough that people are willing to copy it, or we got work to do. Yeah, I think it's a valuable resource. We were talking earlier, the Intelligent Transportation Systems of America organization, or Society of America. They have just put together a guidance document on AI planning and action for transportation organizations. So I would encourage people to go to their webpage and find that guide. Again, it kind of it does a pretty good job, and I believe some of our folks had an input to it about what are your considerations, what are the 10 things you need to do to stand up a strategy, executive buy-in, what needs to happen at the next couple of levels. I mean, it's kind of a good, how do you get to a strategic plan and program. So I'd suggest that. I'd also say that, yeah, I think, I certainly think that the guidance in the governance processes that's described, although not earth-shattering, certainly I think reflect well of what the the business environment. We pulled a lot from industry as we were putting it together, looking at what was happening all around us and what were some of the things they said you need to consider. And I'll stop there.
Okay. So here's an interesting question. Has AI been used to better track, evaluate, and monitor collisions and near misses from lots of information, whether it's from cameras or the police or hospitals or from smart cars? The answer is not yet.
Well, not yet, because one of the things is, again, going back to the security of the information, right? We're very careful right now. I mean, we are looking at possible use cases on the crash record information system side of the house. But that contains confidential and sensitive information, right? It contains driver's license, people's address, and things like that. So we are looking at use cases where we could possibly pilot this next year with Chris, which is the crash record information system, but we have not gone live with anything from a proof of concept perspective yet. So that, I think the traffic side, I think we're more looking at how we can analyze third-party data, but when it comes to actually crashes on the roads that we have the information for, we're being very, very careful.
Yeah, and we are identifying crashes, in that use case that On described earlier about traffic incidents. So yes, we're identifying that either through, and it's really dual source. It's big data, and then it's our own camera system. There might be some AI backend that is seeing that faster. If you've got 100 cameras in a metro area, and then there's more than that. You're not looking at every camera all the time, right? So if it identifies it, then it's drawing that operator's attention to that camera to verify that it's happening, and then verify that through external sources. So there are applications. We aren't really in the near miss discussion yet. That has more to do with defining what near misses are and what would we do with that information? Is it going to change how we design an intersection or what? But certainly next level, third level down, those discussions are already happening about what, if we can do this, then what else could we do? And that would be an application as well.
One thing I was thinking about when you were talking is what a technology that transforms every aspect of your organization. It's almost like bringing computers into the agency, or bringing electricity into a transportation. Like every single thing seems to be changing. It's fascinating to me.
But it's not magic. I try to tell people that, it is a very deliberative effort. It is not just let's go grab the next tool and let's go. It is, why, as On laid it out, why do we want to do this? Is AI really a useful application to this? Let's prove it out. We may sound all giddy and wow, look at all the cool things we're doing, but it's not without a lot of, reservation or, control measures.
Yeah. Do you think that people within the agency and your stakeholders have misconceptions about AI in any way?
I mean, if it were anything, it could be that they over, what's the word I used the other day? The rush to innovation, if you will. So let's just all run and look, we were doing that before AI, right? We, very innovative agency. I could tell you people want a new software probably every day. So it is the same attitude. It's just now, let me implement AI because I think it can do this, and we may not be ready, or it may not be ready. On, can't hear you.
Yeah.
No, you're muted.
Oh, am I muted?
There you go.
Weird. I think the only thing that I would say is people, I think, they go, oh, like ChatGPT. Let me just start using that, and there's no consequences of it because they don't understand the architecture and the policies around some of those tools. And so I think that's the concern that I have more so than anything, is not every tool is equal. And so like ChatGPT, I really worry about people using that, and y'all should be too, because once the data is used, it becomes public information, right? So it doesn't matter if you purposely intended to actually put it in sensitive information or not. And so I think it is just that everybody thinks these tools are harmless. It provides so much value, but they don't really think about the consequences of the data and what is proprietary and what's not to your organization.
Right. So we have run out of time, and as I promised, it went very fast, and we couldn't, I apologize, get to every single question. But we really appreciate your insight today, Darren and Mel. And I just want to thank to all of you for participating in today's webinar. And you might want to mute yourself now. I hear an echo here. You can find a recording of the webinar on our website, enotrends.org. And a number of you asked if the slides will be available, and we'll try to figure out a way to do that. The recording will also be emailed to everybody who registered. You should make sure to sign up for our mailing list so you can gain access to Transportation Weekly, our webinar announcements, our report releases, and more. And a reminder, check out the link in the chat box about donating or becoming a member of Eno. And I'm already looking forward to our next webinar. It's called How Great Managers Deliver High-Stakes Transportation Projects. And that's going to be on June 23rd. Thanks again, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.